Welcome back to Journey On. It's Karl and Jim, just the two of us, you and I.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yes, yep. We cut it in half from last week. Fantastic conversation that we had then, talking about a fresh fire with Pastor Kurt, and then of course Amy was. I'm assuming she gave the message in Fargo also.
She did.
You weren't okay, so she did bless both, not just Bismarck. Karl and Amy came out to Bismarck on Sunday, and everybody Saturday, Sunday we got to hear about Miriam.
Miriam.
Yes, and there's no U in Miriam.
No, not that one.
Nope, that's that. I spelled it with so many U's, and
the most used.
Yes, but it's Miriam. I learned, and she's a prophet, which was interesting to me that there's an Old Testament woman prophet, because it's just in my brain, women were subservient all throughout the Old Testament and while Jesus was around, and we've just gotten progressive since then. And I know that's not true now.
Right.
And it just, there was something in the stories as I was a kid, or something how I learned the stories that made that happen. So that was interesting. I also love the fact that she led worship with a tambourine. As a percussionist, I'm very proud of that. So hats off to Miriam.
Yeah, no kidding. A non-melodic, very rhythmic instrument, and so I mean, it's a cool vision. When I read through that, or like when David's dancing, King David, when he's dancing, all those types of things, I have something in my head. You probably have something in your head. They're probably completely different. I bet it was amazing, and we're just gonna have to wait to find out. But I bet it was amazing.
Yeah, and in my mind, the picture I have is always cartoonish.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, because I feel if I try to make it too real, then it's going to be too far off. So they're just cartoons in my world. Hey, we've got a guest. We have a guest.
Hey, bud.
Oh, we scared the guest away. Grandchild, I'm guessing.
That's my oldest grandson. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Unless the dogs have learned how to open the door, in which case
they have not. Hold on 1 second.
Hey, buddy.
I'll see you in a minute. Okay.
We've taken too much time. We had a much longer pre-show than we'd promised your grandson, so he was being very patient. I do give you that.
He's doing his best.
Yeah. So the main takeaway I had from Amy's message, and thank you, Amy and Karl. I mean, you guys both came up from Fargo. Appreciate that as always. And the main takeaway I had was making decisions based on emotions, and this led to a lot of the problems, the sibling rivalry. Another thing blew my mind going into the service and the message, Aaron and Moses and Miriam being siblings. Again, I'm sure I learned that. It was one of the synapses connected a long time ago that got buried beneath how to fix a refrigerator, I'm sure at some point. But one of those stories that, oh, they're siblings, very cool. And of course, being competitive with siblings makes good sense. And leading that out to making other decisions based on emotions. And I think I heard Amy use the word discernment at least once in the message, and that's what I took from it. That's what kind of cemented all of what I heard was discernment, basing our decision not on the knee-jerk reaction in the moment, praying on it, talking it over with others, and avoiding leprosy. That was
avoiding leprosy should be very top of their list for sure. I think we're probably okay now, but and speaking of leprosy, so just to tail on to what you had said, I liked the comparison how Amy brought that verbal disease of speaking out because of emotion, which could be lashing out at somebody, or gossiping, or trying to start something, however you want to call that, whatever you want to call that God sees that as a disease that he does not want in his church.
For sure.
So that was what she was guilty of, right? We know that. So he gave her leprosy.
Miriam, not Amy. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, no, Amy's okay. No. She didn't.
Amy is leprosy free.
Excellent.
I haven't talked to her today.
Okay.
But as of yesterday, she was pretty good.
All right. We feel good about that.
Yeah. Right. Good. Yeah. So I like that, how Amy tied that together, and I believe biblically it is tied together, that God sees that as a disease that he does not want in his family. And take heed. That's true. He doesn't. And where does that stuff come from? Where does gossip come from? Where does backbiting come from? Where does name calling come from? Where does dissension
Mm.
come from? Where does division come from? It's all jealousy and emotion
Yeah,
and
spite. Spite comes to
yeah,
mind. That was the word that I heard through
yeah,
everything you
spite,
just
sure,
said.
any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Great
I,
message.
for sure. And a week ago, you gave a message in which I believe it was last week, where you asked, show of hands, how many people suffer from anger, like dealing with
Yep.
anger issues.
Yep.
And I was one for sure, hand up in the air. And that ties into what you just said because my lashing out is most assuredly verbal. I've that snake tongue is how
Mm.
I see it in my head. If I
Yeah.
don't get the poison out, if I'm not, and I decompress verbally, so I talk
Oh,
out.
sure.
That's part of when people hear us talk about the show before the show. I process by talking things out, and
Yeah.
Carl happens to be an amazing soundboard, which I really appreciate. So we're able to talk some things out that way. Working on a matter of fact, working on a podcast with one of the members from the Bismarck Church, Beth, that
Oh,
that
yes.
deals exactly with that, how we process things together that way. So, but
Cool.
there's a little. I didn't intend for there to be a
Little
sneak
plug.
peek here, but yeah, we're gonna plug that. You'll hear more about it coming up, I'm sure.
Awesome.
But so yeah, talking things out and doing it in a healthy way, that's an important part of our lives for sure.
For
Uh,
sure.
you mentioned before, as you were introducing Amy, that there are opportunities for others to become a guest speaker in
Sure.
both locations or either location as well, right?
Yep, absolutely. So guest speaker, that probably is that has I don't know, that has a connotation like I think because we are a family. So
Hmm.
if you think about a family meeting, right? When dad called the family meeting or mom called the family meeting, or even like a Thanksgiving Day dinner or something like that, or let's say Easter, since that's coming up, Easter dinner,
Hmm.
everybody's sitting around, and when you have something important to share,
Mm.
you're not really a guest speaker. I
Yeah.
mean, you're taking your turn or taking a turn, and it's not anything wrong with guest speaker, but
Yeah.
I like to think of us as a family. So it's not that everybody has to take a turn, but
Hmm.
and like I kind of joked with Rod because I read something that Rod had kind of dictated to Tammy, and Tammy said, "You got to read this," and it was
Right.
fantastic. It's
Right.
the heart of our church is yeah, get out there and love people. That's what I essentially thought he was maybe trying to say. And so how far is it from dictating something to Tammy, who's giving me the notes for announcements, to just saying, "Hey, I've got something to say," right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
what is it, 45 steps that seems a lot longer sometimes. But
Right.
anybody that feels like God is impressing something upon them, whether it's you're reading through something, you're like, wow, I've never thought of that, or geez, if
Hmm.
I if this means that much to me, it's going to mean something to my family, right? My
Sure.
church family. There's a lot of ways of getting that out. One of which would be telling me, and
Right.
and it's something I think God is, you know, moving me in this direction. I think more people need to know this. That'd be fantastic. Let's talk about it. If it's something that they want to just help me understand where they're coming from, that's one way. If they say like maybe we could do it together, I love having somebody up there to bounce stuff off, like a not like a late night talk show. It could be, but not necessarily, and not really an interview, but more
Right.
like a
Conversation.
question, yeah,
Yeah.
conversation. And that's great. We haven't done that in a while. I've done that
Yeah.
a few years ago. That's a great way to get somebody introduced to
Hmm.
sharing what God is doing. And then the next thing is like Amy, you guys have seen in Bismarck have seen Amy a few times, and we've
Hmm.
seen her a few more times um in Fargo. And yeah, it could be, I know a lot of people are like, I will never do that. Well, like Amy shared, when I first met Amy, my initial thought wasn't, I can't wait till the day that she's done 10 messages in our church. It was, gosh, I hope she tells me her name. She
Right.
very reserved.
Right.
And that is the power of the Holy Spirit because she
Mhm.
came to me and she said, Carl, this is something that I think God has put on my heart. And I said, man, if it's on your heart, then let's share that. And the
Yeah.
best person to share it would be you. So let's figure out the best way to do that. And over the course of however many years, 7 years now, we're in our seventh year. She's become an amazing message giver, preacher. I don't know that she likes the word preacher, but it's okay.
Uh,
Message giver, verbalizer, whatever works best for whoever. So that's really it. Is just if God is working on your heart, we can figure out a way to get what you're feeling, what you're finding out, what you're being revealed. We can get that out.
and we
And I
have
want to
there's
encourage you, Jim, because
yeah,
you are a natural in front of people. So,
thank you. And
yeah,
I
absolutely.
yeah, that is that's actually what I was going to address. Some of us have the gift to get in front of people, and one of the so we all have little things that can hold us back, right? Because the thing that holds me back is process.
Sure.
I love to talk, and I also love being in front of people, and I also have to have a process. So I get jammed up in the fact that, well, we're in this series right now. There's nothing speaking to me about this series. And by the time we get to the next series, well, we're in that series already. So Carl probably already has a roadmap on what he's doing. So maybe I'll jump in on the next series. So there's all these, and my point with that is there are so many things that can stop us from doing it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So let's stop stopping and just
Yeah.
do, right? So
If
we
you're
can
driving around looking for stop signs, you're going to find stop signs.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
My prayer today is we all find those stop signs, please,
Right. Right. Right.
for the
Yeah.
sake of the rest of us. So
And there's
yeah,
a
conversations. Let's continue. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's a cool because we like doing series. I love doing series as a pastor. It kind of helps, like you said, a roadmap.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like somebody who is in charge of making dinners for their family, right? Most of the time that's the mom. It's kind of like if someone were to say, um, this whole month we're doing noodles, that
Oh, yep.
everything's kind of laid out. It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a little bit of pressure off something, and but I want to assure everybody that there's a thing called a one-off
hmm
in the speaking world, and it's something that doesn't necessarily have to be tied to anything else. It's a one-off. If Easter is probably going to be the message on Easter is going to be a one-off
yeah.
because I want to talk about the resurrection. And if I can find a character
Mm,
and I haven't really looked too hard, but I know what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the resurrection because, in my opinion, and it's shared by many people,
mm,
without the resurrection, without the resurrection, Jesus was not who he said he was. That
yeah,
means he did not do what he said he would do and cannot do what he says he will do. So we're wasting our time. That's why the resurrection is so important.
yeah.
And so we're going to talk about
Mm.
it. If it's that important, we need to talk about it.
Well, I can't think of a better day to do it than on
Right, right.
Easter. And
Resurrection Day, right?
and then in Fargo, of course, they get the preview
Yeah.
of is Saturday. So it's Good Friday. Is
Yep.
Saturday called something? I can't remember if that has a name
Oh,
because
it
I
is too.
Monday?
No,
No,
that's Monday,
that's
Thursday.
Thursday.
It is called something.
I guess it would be Sad Saturday.
Yep, yep.
Unfortunately, I
It
mean
could
there
be.
was that pause.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a good question.
there you
I'll
go.
know that by this weekend. I will
Well,
know.
okay, another question.
Yeah,
Do we have any historic or maybe biblical background on either of the convicts that were on the crosses with Jesus?
really good question. So we don't know a lot about them.
Yeah, okay.
We know that we know what the Bible tells us. That's actually what we know is that they both started and to be crucified does tell us a little bit about their history.
Yeah,
So they weren't Romans, and whatever they had done was disastrous. Was like that was saved for the worst of the worst,
yeah.
crucifixion. And we also know that neither one were believers when they started out. Neither one were
Mhm.
followers of Jesus, and so they were mocking him. And then pretty quickly, one of them realizes Jesus is who he says he is,
Yeah.
and becomes a follower of Jesus for a very brief time. But that's what's uplifting about that is that's all we need.
If
We,
that, and
we
I've had that early, well, a lot early in my Christian walk, and still today there are days that, well, if that guy on the cross next to Jesus can, I'm gonna be okay. When I can't understand grace on a given day because I'm not feeling it, right? Going back to
yeah,
feelings, I
yeah,
can know logically that this is how it was and still is today. and you have an impatient grandson. I love
I see it opening behind me.
it. Special guest. We'll make sure he's in the credits so he gets his
Okay.
union fees today. Yeah, his union. Yeah. So okay, where were we at? Oh, is it another question for you, as long as we're on this roll. I love one of my favorite genres to read and listen to in audiobooks is historical fiction.
Oh,
So like Michener writes a lot of that. John Michener is an author that writes about Poland was a good example, and it was from prehistoric to early throughout early history, medieval times through crusades and on up to it stopped at World War II. I think he ran out of ran out of emotion at that point to try to
right,
get through
right,
it.
right.
Uh, but he followed five families through all of that timeline that were
Mm,
fiction, but he based it on true things that were
yeah.
happening around him.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I think in terms of okay, so can we make a story about one of these guys that's on the cross based on what we know? And I know that wouldn't be a message that we'd want to give, but
Right.
wouldn't that be interesting to
It
to go
would.
back and maybe there are authors that have already done it.
There's a pastor, and I am not getting his name. He's on Faith Radio,
Mm,
and he is Irish, and he is not Alistair Begg. Uh,
okay.
um,
If you're going to discount all of okay, is it Aaron Butcher? Just
it
like
is
if we
not Aaron
start
Butcher.
discounting all of, okay.
If we start working our way through what
Yeah.
it's not, we might come up with who it is. Um, yeah, that's and I believe I've heard him do something
Hmm.
in a message series, and that was one of the
Yeah.
characters, we'll say. Um, I'll have to look that up because it's so there is stuff like we can draw culturally, we can draw some
Right.
stuff, and
Right.
just the fact that they're being crucified, we know the level of criminal he was,
Mhm.
and there's some other things. I think it would be kind of very interesting to look at that historically and
Yeah.
culturally,
Yeah.
and and then scripturally put that back, kind of all together. And that would be, I don't think it's going to happen between now and next Easter,
No.
but
Do you,
it
do you
would
have
be
an I
fun.
so you have an idea that you want to talk about the crucifixion or the resurrection for sure
Resurrection. Yeah.
for Easter, and we'll see that. So a little bit of a teaser. We
Yeah.
also in Bismarck as a reminder that is the day that we have our potluck, and happen to know that there's going to be turkey and ham for sure, and some whatever people bring for sides. So that should be a
Yep.
good time, another opportunity to invite people.
And we are also having food in Fargo on Saturday. So I
Oh.
should be pretty well deviled egg up.
That's the challenge. How many deviled eggs? You're gonna have to keep track like they did
I
in
will keep a little tally.
yeah.
I
What was the
love
show
deviled
where the
eggs.
guy ate the hard-boiled eggs? Show in the 40s, I think it was.
Oh my. Um,
What we have here is a failure to communicate. Guy was in jail,
oh,
Paul
oh, oh,
Newman.
failure to communicate. That was
Yeah.
that.
Cool Hand
Let's see.
Luke. There it is.
Cool Hand
Cool
Luke.
Hand
There
Luke.
it is. Wow,
So we need to
nice.
find out how many hard-boiled eggs he ate, and we need Pastor Karl to eat, well, twice as many, at least
Right.
twice as
Yeah,
many.
because there's two. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you can do it. I have faith.
I love the confidence. That's great. My wife would appreciate that, but yeah, let's do it.
How about this coming weekend? This
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday. Do we have more of the as you've come to call them the tertiary characters now?
Right. Right. We do have. New phone who this is
Yeah.
continuing, and our character there's going to be an asterisk beside him because or
Ooh.
asterisk. It's Silas,
Oh.
Paul and Silas, and we often see Silas as a sidekick. So the title of this section is Silas the Sidekick question mark. And what we're going to
Okay.
focus on is the story with Silas and Paul and Silas, and there's a demon-possessed slave girl. This is all in Acts 16,
Okay.
and then they're thrown in prison, and then some miraculous, and it truly is miraculous, things happen, and there is a jailer or guard that becomes saved. So I want to talk about that
Oh.
whole story because there's
Mhm.
some amazing prescriptive and descriptive um, scripture, and I think I can't wait for it to unfold. Can't wait to share.
Awesome. So it's Act 16
Act
and
16
plus minus. How about we do
plus.
Act
Yeah, there
16
you
plus
go.
minus?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
So a
Yep.
little bit before, a little bit after, if you
Yep.
so choose. I've gotten into the mindset now, and I think you've put a bug in my brain sometime in the
Oh,
last couple of years because
okay.
when I read something now, if I begin it, my brain inevitably says, "Well, why? How did we get here?" So then I go
Yeah.
back and then I go further back and pretty soon and I do have to I'm a overthinker. Amy talked about that on her
Yep.
message. Also, definitely me too. And I could like I'm in Genesis. Like I'm Acts 16, I need to read. And how did I get into Mark? What? Stop. So yeah, we have to put a limit on it, but I think
Yep. Yep.
Acts
Oh,
16
that's
plus
awesome.
minus.
That's
Yeah, for
fantastic.
sure. Also coming up, Fresh Fire. Wanted to mention that
Yep.
again here in Bismarck. It's April 26th through the 28th. Got a really cool video from Pastor Kurt inviting a few of us for sure, but all men would be invited to the men's breakfast on Saturday. And there's a ladies' breakfast happening at the same time Saturday morning, that 26th as well. Things happening throughout the weekend. Look up a Fresh Fire. I know they have information on Facebook. You can talk to Carl and I in Bismarck, anybody in Fargo that's interested. And you don't have to go to all of the things. Matter of
Right.
fact, one of the questions that I have next time we talk to Pastor Kurt is there a registration process or do we just show up?
Oh, good
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
Yeah. I bet
because
that
I
might
plan to show up, but they might want to know how many to make breakfast for, or yeah,
right.
if that's the case. So we'll see how it goes. But over
Have
50
you
churches
noticed, have you
involved, and
noticed with
yeah.
us, Jim, it doesn't take too long. We don't have to talk very long and things just it evolves into food talk and it really doesn't matter what the topic is. We could be talking Genesis and it's like, oh, the
Uh,
apple, boom, we're right there.
Was the apple sweet or was it more sour?
Exactly. What was it? A Honey
Yeah.
Crisp? Did they have Honey Crisp? I love Honey Crisp. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I do
great.
love Honey
So
Crisp. I'm not gonna
it's
lie. Those are great apples.
we call this journey on, but really it's church chat. But we could actually just as easily change it to snack chat. If
Snack
you want to
chat.
join us every week
Yeah.
for snack chat, and we
Snack
might
chat.
talk about
Yeah.
what's happening at church as well. But
Yeah, exactly.
we're
That'll
a
probably
family. It's
happen
all
too.
about the food. Yeah, it's all about the food. All right. So, any final thoughts that are food or not food related?
Well, it won't be food related technically, but I suppose we could probably work that in.
Yeah.
Um,
Challenge
and,
accepted.
and so here's it's a challenge. My challenge is coming from what we've talked about, and you and I've talked about on the show and in church the last probably month or so, and that's there are really two. And there are two services, two services, two
Mm,
times in the year where I believe people are more open to an invitation. And
yeah.
knowing how important invitations are, like 85% of Christians tried church because they were invited. So the other
Mm,
15, who knows, saw a commercial, were driving by, had a flat tire, thought, let's get help. I don't know what the other 15 are. We could find out, but 85% are because a trusted friend invited them or somebody they knew
yeah.
invited them. So my challenge is the 33% rule, right? I've heard that it's the 10% rule, it's a 33%
Yeah.
rule. It really depends. And the 33% rule is 33% of the people you invite are going to show up.
Mm,
Okay. So my challenge is this week to be praying and really thinking about three names.
yeah.
And in this week, within this week, and they don't have to all be in the same day, but invite three
Mm,
people to come and celebrate and worship on Easter or
yeah.
for Fargo the day before Easter. And if all three show up, that's fantastic. We're going to have
Mm.
snacks and food for everybody. That won't be a problem. There'll be plenty of love to go around, everything like that. And if
You
one
did.
does,
You
that's
did
great.
it. You brought it back around to food. Very nice. Yeah.
I
And you didn't even
did.
mean it. Yeah.
Woo!
So
I
my
did.
challenge, okay, my challenge on the on to add on to that then is let's get enough people to show up that we run out of food because that's never happened in the
Oh, that'd
Midwest.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
that's an interesting thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
If we
We
could
either
run
need
out
to
of
invite
food.
one or two competitive eaters or 15 to 20 other people,
Yeah, they can't eat for at least 3 days before
right?
they come. So we gotta run out of food on Sunday and Saturday.
Yeah.
That's our
Yeah.
plan over at the
That'd
Easter.
be awesome. I'd love to be able to write that in a journal. We ran out of food. That'd be great.
Amen. All right. Well, appreciate everybody being with us as always. We've had some folks, and I know they've approached you and approached me that watch this on a regular basis and tell us that they like having the information. And right back at you to everybody that's out there. Thanks for being engaged. Continue to spread this out to others. From our standpoint, the reason Karl and I do this, it's more information that we can get out with others. Selfishly, it's an opportunity for us to talk, and I love that.
I do too.
And the fact that we can share this with our family means a lot, and we appreciate the efforts that you put in as well. So thanks for joining us. God bless everyone, and we'll see you next time.